All right. Ah. A little bit of grindy grind, a little bit of wheelie wheel. Mostly at this point we're going to be wheelie wheel to clean up the metal, but we're going to talk about that right after the break. Still cold out here. Upper lip. I know you people from up north, you're going to tell me I'm not cold.
Restoration of a classic Ford is a journey of discovery. Let AutoCrafters help you with yours. We offer quality parts for Falcon, Fairlane, F-Series, Galaxie, Maverick, and Pinto. Contact us today.
All right, now I'm going to start doing wire wheel work in here. I'm going to go ahead and leave the panel in position for right now and wire wheel with it in here because it can be a little harder to hold that edge right there if you're wire wheeling outside of the car. And I'm going to probably have to go back even still and pick up these sections back up in here on the actual automobile to clean those up. Biggest tip I can give you on this stuff is every once in a while change the direction on your wheel. It'll give you a little more bite. Also wear safety glasses. One thing I will say is the problem with using things like POR 15, which I'm okay with using POR 15, if you do like I did here and go too far over with it, it is a real bear to get up with a wire wheel. These sections in here also, make sure you get them as clean as possible. And what I mean by that is you don't want any paint residue on here because any of that kind of stuff is going to mess with your weld whenever you start welding the panel in. So I'm going to go ahead and continue on with this, clean up all around here. Now this edge out here, I'm going to do spots. So I don't have to worry about the POR 15 up on the top of the panel. I will have to take the POR 15 off and paint off up here, as well as the paint that's on the top side of this panel. And I'm going to pull this out in just a second and wire wheel underneath this edge here because it is really nasty with just grease and body shuts and things like that, and that too will contaminate your weld. Looks like we're going to need a weather strip from our buddies at Autocrafters. I guess it fell out. All right, I want to talk a little bit about what I'm doing. I am not going to put a spot up here because this is going to be stitch welded across the top. Same thing at the bottom of the panel over here. I'm not going to put one right down here at the edge because there is going to be a stitch weld right there. What I've done is I've gone in and used a small drill bit to do my guide holes. I'm going to use my Beehive drill bit that's a unibit to open the holes up a little bit more, make them big enough for me to be able to get in there. One more size. That's going to be about the right size right there. I'll put a measurement below me on the screen here. I'm going to go through and hit all these holes that I've made with my guide. And I should have my glasses on. Remember, safety third. All right, so I'm going to continue my grinding routine in here, actually wire wheeling routine in here. I am not worried about this down here so much, but this edge up here I couldn't get to in the car, so I'm going to have to come in here and do it this way. Always get the edge as well. Just a little bit. Now, I'm going to talk real quickly about something here. Spots like this, where you've got some pitting in the metal, this could present a problem to us when we're starting to weld this panel in. This could be a potential spot for blowout because your metal is thinner in a couple of these spots, and indeed right up here on the edge, which we're going to be welding to. So something like that, just keep it in your eye whenever you're doing this. Realize if you get a blowout, it's probably just because you're using a crappy old piece of metal like I'm using right here. When you're wire wheeling something, if you go against the grain of whatever you're working in and you're running this wire wheel this way against that edge, it's going to kick on you. So you turn your direction the other way where it's pushing off this way, you don't have the problems with kick. Now, anything you find like this stuff here, that'll need to be gotten up so that the panel will sit fairly flush on the other piece that we left in there as a lip. Now, you might be saying to yourself, oh no, Jeff, you have gone in and opened up the metal and this will start to rust. Yes, unless you use a product that the guys at 3M have created called cavity wax. The cavity wax will get in behind here, we'll spray it along that outside edge, from inside the cab, and it'll fill that up and keep that from rusting. It's probably your best bet in a case like this. It's what most of the production shops today are using when they are putting a panel together. They won't try to put POR 15 because what happens a lot of times with any product, not just POR 15, if there's paint back here, you're going to end up with a problem of it wanting to contaminate your weld and you're not getting a good weld through on it. So you'll want to clean all these holes up, and then you can come back in with the cavity wax I just showed you and use it to keep this stuff from rusting. If it's good enough for the factory guys, it should be good enough for us. All right, so now we've gone in and done a few things. I've got the MIG welder hotted up over here, ready to rock and roll. I've got my settings on this particular MIG. There's only switches and a dial. The dial is for wire speed. The switches are high and low. I've got it on a number 2, which is what my welding usually looks like, and then I've also got it on high. So we know that we've got a pretty good setting on our welder. So I went through the panel and I worked on it with some sheet metal self-tapping screws to basically set the panel in place to make sure it was where I wanted it to be. I made a few more whittle cuts around the back edge back here. Everything seems to be pretty good. At this point, I'm just gonna, as my friend liked to say, send it. Get it over with and just start working through the panel. I find a lot of times, especially for me, I have a real struggle with keeping things running the way I want them to run. For instance, I've got some issues in the very back of this panel right now that I'm probably going to try to fix with moving things around with the cab mount and all that to get everything to shove back toward the back of the car a little bit on the inside. That's my plan at this point. If I move the panel up to where it's sitting like it is right now, flush up against the cab mounts here, the way it should be, I've got a big gap at the very back. So what I'm going to try to do is to weld all this up in here, not all of it, but tack it in really well so it doesn't move around, and then move myself around and see if I can get the back part of this panel to lay in. Everything has been ground all the way around. Another little tip that you can do if you really want to is you can go in and actually use a little pre-cleaner on the panel to get rid of any schmutz and grease that may be on there. I'm pretty confident that we did pretty well with this one. I'll probably have to hit this line back here because this did get a little dirty when we were trying to clean up that underside the other day, along with my shirt sleeves, which my wife was just not happy about me doing. But I digress. Okay, so I'm gonna helmet up and just lay in a tack. I'm gonna start my tack right here to make sure that this panel is sitting right where I want it to. Put one more in right here. I'm going to cut my wire down to about this length in order to make the arc work inside the argon a little bit better. Yeah, I'm liking that. I'm going to move down to this end so this end doesn't walk around. Yeah. helmet back on. And what I'm doing is I'm using this pry bar to level that panel out. Now keep in mind, these are just tacks. They're not in for permanent. If I need to, I can take my cutoff wheel and go in and move any of these out of the way that I need. All right, I'm about to take a calculated gamble risk. What I want to do is I'm going to use my pry bar and I'm going to put it under here and pull the panel this way to close up this gap. What I'm trying to do is to pull this panel here this way a little bit. And I'm going to tack it probably right about there. It's going to be to take this, right about there. You always want to let those cool off a little bit before you release the pressure. Now what I'm going to have to do here is try to get that to come up to meet the spot. Got a little bit of dive in here. If I can get that to come on top of it. It's looking pretty good. A little off here. And it's at a bad spot in the tunnel. You've got some wiggle room right here, but not so much in the wiggle room department down on this end. So what I might try to do is this. To get a little bit of stretch on that panel there. That's better. I'll live with that. I'm going to put a tack here with my electric glue gun. I should say metal glue gun. Okay, now I'm going to have to go along here and open that up a little bit. Now I'm going to put a tack every once in a while on this. I've got a lot more metal glue gun work to do in that crack right there than in some of these other spots. Just underneath it. Nope, I got it. What the heck? All right, now I'm gonna have to go get a hammer and start doing some hammer work on it. All right, Now it's just going to be a matter of going around and leveling and putting tacks in, and then we'll start filling up the areas between the tacks. Now what I'm doing with my scraper here is I'm getting this to where it's fairly close to level, and then I'm going to put a tack right just to the other side of it. Blew a hole. Blew another hole. This is what I was talking about with thin metal. This might be a lot to ask of a scraper here. Pretty sporty there. I'm gonna have to get something a little more substantial to get in between there. It's probably gonna be a flat blade screwdriver that I'll put in there. Just remember, every tool's a tool for something else if you use it incorrectly enough. All right, I'm just using my flat blade screwdriver to panel set here a little bit. Trying to make up my mind if that's right what I want to do right there, but that's set nicely. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop a spot right there. That's going to work. A little bit lippy, but livable. I'm pretty pleased with what we've got so far. I'll continue to work this corner in here. I've got this about as flat as it's going to go, and I'm going to go ahead and throw a little tacky right in there. I'm going to have to do some bridge work, so to speak. And I just walk the metal, or the, I almost call it a metal glue gun. I'll walk the MIG welder back and forth just a little bit to bridge that gap. Keep whacking the original metal on the car too much. Probably worrying about all this more than I should too, because this is, after all, a driver car. You'll notice what I'm doing is every once in a while I'll stop, run my finger across it to see where I'm at. Yeah, there we go. A little high and mighty right there, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to make that curve come in like I want to. Maybe I'll just bend it in. Yeah, my wife calls that my satisfied laugh. All right, so I'm going to go in and lay a tack right here since we are ready to rock and roll. I do have a big gap I'm going to have to fill up back here, but I'm tight right here, so I'm going to put my helmet on and lay in a tack right there. Well, that took. I don't know why it did, but it did. I shan't argue with her. You hear the way it's sputtering? That's because this is not clean metal. I'm going to come back out here again in just a second. I'm going to grind this again on this side because I'm getting a really good strike over here, but not much to this side of it. So I'm going to have to redo some of the grinding. If you get that stutter sputter, it doesn't sound like bacon frying, you got a problem. And all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go through and I'm going to show you how I stitch these in. I could go in and do grind, stitch, grind, stitch, grind, stitch, but on a floor pan I'm not that worried about. If this was a quarter panel, I would be much more inclined to do what Robert McCartney told us in the video that we've got up now for welding. You can see that below me here, and also the URL is going to be down in the description below. I'm going to go in and do one or two of these just to show you what I'm talking about with it. And what I'll do is I'll go in and hammer it between welds to get it to stay flat. So let me run a stitch in here. All the rest of this is just plug welding in these holes. So that's usually pretty straightforward and easy. And I'll do that off camera. All right, so that's basically what I do with the stitch. What I'm doing is I'm laying it up next to the last weld. I'm laying the wire itself right up next to the last weld, and I'm striking an arc. I'm not holding it forever. You'll hear us like a and that's it. It's still a little dirty in here, and I'm probably going to go back in one more time with a good clean wire brush and probably some pre-cleaner and clean this up a little bit more just so I can get some good weld out of it. That'll probably be about it. I don't know why it is. Every time I weld on camera, it looks great. No, it doesn't. It looks terrible. The welds that I do off camera seem to be okay. I'm not sure if that's just me being camera shy or what, but the welds look pretty bad. But what's not bad is Patreon and your support of Patreon. If we do anything at all for you guys, why don't you consider joining us on Patreon? We have monthly meetings where I sit down and I talk tech. We have a good time. It is a lot of fun. That's all I'll say about it. It's just a lot of fun. What you're also doing though is with this is you're supporting this crew. The guys who come in here on Saturdays, and also Andrew, who is here on a weekday basis with me doing the edit work while I do other things like trying to, get the parts in and do all the other stuff that needs to be done, answering viewer mail, which feel lately I've been a little bit sore about that, but I got other things going on a personal level that have kept me from answering viewer mail as much as I'd like to. But like I said, you are supporting Andrew and you are supporting the kids. I don't see a dime of that. Trying to teach Andrew fiscal responsibility, unlike what our federal government seems to be doing on a daily basis. Oh look, Black Crown Vicks. Wonder why they're here. Anyway, before they pull on up in the yard, ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor and check out the super thanks. If we've done anything for you at all in any singular video, it's a way to say, hey man, we appreciate what you're doing. At the $10 level, when you say, hey man, I appreciate what you're doing, you don't have to say exactly that. You can even tell us we suck. If you're gonna give me 10 bucks, I'm gonna say, okay, thanks for the input. But you will get your name at the end of the video here. We'll put your name up in lights-ish. So check out super thanks, it's kind of cool. Horrible name. Cool program. So YouTube, let's work on that. Get something else going on out there. Speaking of something else, why don't we subscribe to the channel and get other people to subscribe to the channel? We are right here at Christmas. At the taping of this, we are basically a week and a half away. We are not going to make it. 200, 100,000. But very shortly we will, and when we do, I'll stop talking at all about this stuff and leave you guys alone, and you won't hear about it. There'll just be a little bug in the corner or the bottom somewhere, probably at the front of the video that says subscribe to the channel. I'll shut up. This little segment right here will be gone. You won't have to hear it anymore. That's that. So folks, do me a favor, be kind to each other, love each other, treat each other nice. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you on down the road, which is where most of the rest of this welding is going to be done. I'm going to finish this up probably today, maybe Sunday, but we're done showing this kind of stuff. Now I'm going to come back with a video on cleaning this thing up and rust proofing it for final, talking about some products like one from 3M called Cavity Wax. Sounds kind of dirty, but it's not really dirty. It's actually kind of clean. It's cool. You have to put that in there and it'll keep things from rusting where you can't see them, which is what most of the production body shops are going to right now. So with that being said, I am going to continue to goose my way around this car, finish up a few more welds, and then I got other things I gotta do. See you later, folks. I'm gonna start welding. You might feel a slight pressure. They always lie when they say that. The hunting cat. She seeks her prey in the night. Well, early evening.